So I think you are wanting me to start. um, and I will. Hi, I'm Patty Gatto, Walden, psychologist. Thank you for the invitation to talk. I I want you to know one or two very few extra things about me. I have worked for over 40 years with gifted, solely gifted, highly and profoundly gifted from the ages of 4 to 93. So, as she said, as the introduction was, I don't just work with children and adolescents, I work with adults. And it's equal actually. And as a result of that, I know that things that I share affect us throughout our life. It isn't that, this is just for children, or I'm just going to talk about your preteen and teen. This is about you as well. And I want to make that really clear. And I also want you to know that I have four highly gifted children, two of whom are twice exceptional, and some very young grandbabies, which, if you had the video, you'd be seeing some of their toys behind me. Um, and I also want you to know that I always teach what I need to learn. So I'm right here with you. I have been working on these issues in my own life and with my children all these decades. And I ask you and welcome you as parents. Please don't just think of your children during this session. I want you to think of yourself. Giftedness is inherited, it is nature as well as nurture. And as parents, we model all the time. We constantly are modeling some things we wish we weren't, and some things we're happy about. So I just want you to allow this from my heart to yours, from my mind to yours, to really come to you and to reflect not just on others, but on yourself. I'm hoping that you'll be able to see me soon. I don't know why the video isn't working or isn't opening. Um, I'm gonna try one more time here just to see. Slot the camera. Ah, how odd. I've never had this trouble, but that's what happens, isn't it? Um, okay, so let's get going so that we have time. I've learned, because I could talk to you for 3 hours, and quite honestly, I tend to have a lot to say and a lot to share based on all the experience. So I want you to know that I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to delineate some issues and also talk about some tools as I'm talking about the issues. Okay. So, and I've also learned that because I have so much to say, that sometimes I don't get to the end of my presentation because I run out of time. So therefore, sometimes I've decided to start with some of the really big stuff so that I'm sure that you get it. And so I'm going to start with the number one thing that I want you to know. Well, there's several things that I really, really want you to remember, and I'll highlight them. The number one thing is, you, parent, are the most important person in your child's life. I don't care if they're a teen and they're in their room and they're closing the door. I don't care if they're not talking to you very much. I don't care what the external behavior is, although I do want you to know all behavior is purposeful, and I'll get to that in a moment. You provide the stability, the security, and the predictability in their lives. You are the one that provides the self-esteem for your child. So they look to you to, I mean, this. You know this as well as I do as a parent. Oh my gosh, we can't even raise our eyebrows without them feeling like, are you judging me? You don't like what I just said? They are attuned to you completely. They know whether they feel, whether they see, whether you are happy with them or discontented or angry or pushing, or they know whether you see who they really are, or are you more concerned about the external world and how they produce. I've done research over these decades, and I've asked the kids themselves from ages 5 through college. I've asked them, what is it that you want me? Because I talk a lot to parents nationally and internationally, and also teachers. What do you want me to tell the teachers, and what do you want me to tell the parents? I'm going to be your voice. What do you want me to say? And very interestingly enough, consistently over 20 years, these are Patty's words now, the kids have asked me to tell you, see me. This is what they're asking for. See me, mom and dad. Hear me. Know me. What does that mean? It means that it's important that they feel that they belong in the family. It is important that they're like grandpa and that they're really good in mathematics or they really have talent on the trombone or that they're very much like daddy or mommy in this way or that way. It feels good to belong to the family lineage in that way. And that's important to them to belong. But there's more than that. They are different from you. They are different from their siblings. And so, what they want you to know is how am I like others? And how am I distinctly different? What are my uniquenesses? And so, I please ask you to awaken to the inner core of your children, however many children you have. And by the way, the inner core of yourself and your partner as well, not just to be completely. I'm going to try to start my camera now. They just advised me to try to start it. Yay, here I am. Hello. Here I am. You see some toys behind me. Yay, good. I can't see you, but that's okay. You can see me now. So please be aware of their inner being, their inner beauty, their inner uniqueness. That's what they want from you. That's what they need from you. So there are two basic things that your children look to you for as parents. Well, there's many, but these are the two basics. Self-esteem, that they're worthwhile as people, as a person, not just what they do, not just what they can accomplish, but who they are. And that they belong, that there's acceptance from you of who they are. And particularly in teen years, that's the time when there is individuality sprouting. And they're going to question things that maybe in the past they were willing to accept. And now they're quiet about it, or they pull back, or they're argumentative, or whatever. Self-esteem, acceptance from the parents, respect of individuality, and being able to be genuinely who they are in the home. There is nothing more important than that. I provide for my kids. My husband and I provide the foundation for growth. And it is either fertile soil at our home, which means we respect each other, we listen to each other, we can be genuine. We try not to be constantly critical. We are critical by nature, all of us. So it's not that easy. And that we're empathic, particularly from parents to the children. Not the children to you necessarily, by the way. I'll just say a little adjunct. Your children are not your friends. I have this trouble with some of my parents with the brilliant, highly, profoundly gifted kids that talk like adults to their parents, and the parents are going through some difficulties, and they end up sharing way too much with their children. Let your children be children. Let them have their life. They're consumed with what's going on inside them, with school and friendships and comfort with their bodies and lack thereof and the above. They don't need to know all the stuff about you, okay? It's very important that you realize that. So empathy is the parents trying to get in the kids' frame of reference to understand. Okay, I'm going to look at some of my notes because I give lots of presentations and I jotted down some notes, like I said, of the most important things that I want you to know. So the number one thing was you provide acceptance. You provide seeing your child in the uniqueness and giving them positive feedback about their beauty of their inner core. Okay. You know what? I think I'm going to do this right now. See, this is the other thing, you linear sequentials, I'm going to drive you nuts because I'm not linear sequential. I'm a creative mind. So can you see this? This is so embarrassing. My sister was a professional artist, and this is the extent of my artistry. You'll see 3 concentric circles, okay? And so this is actually a picture of each one of us individually. And this happened, I was literally sitting with a client, a profoundly gifted woman, and I realized all we do is keep on talking about her outer world, the work situation, the demands of everyday life, her productivity, what others expect, how she presents herself. This external circle is how we show ourselves in the world. Okay. And we all have masks. And that's healthy. We do not want everybody to see inside of ourselves. And because there's a lot of stuff that even we are uncomfortable with. So having some form of masking, it's essential. It's a protective device. However, many of us and many parents, many of us adults and many kids get lost in what they should show the outside world. And are they acceptable? Are they good enough? Are they smart enough? Are they pretty enough? Is their home clean enough? Are their clothes good? How does their hair look today? You know, are they acceptable on social media when they compare themselves to others? Oh, I wish there was no social media. How they compare themselves to others in the external world. Do they have enough? You know, all the enough stuff. So please don't get lost, parents, on homework, on chores, on what they say and don't say. Please learn to go deeper. And I'm going to talk more about that. So here's the external world. Here's how we relate to the external world. Then you see this squiggly brown line, and that is our stresses. I'm going to talk about stresses. I'm going to talk about our fears. I'm going to talk about depression, and I'm going to give you some tools for that, for you, for me, and for everybody, okay, irrespective of ages. I have kids age 5 coming in to see me with stress and anxiety. Now you see that that's hidden behind that mask. And I want to say something to you. When your stress and your anxiety or your child's stress and anxiety starts to peek out through that mask more and more, so they can't hide it, you can't hide it, it means you need to get some help from somebody who can help you with that stress. It means that the stress has gotten so big that the anxiety, maybe even depression, angst, worry, fret, self-doubt, lack of self-worth, etc., has gotten so big that it started to overtake you. And that means it's time to get some help. It really does. That's what it means. And that's okay. And it might be from a counselor, it might be from a psychologist. But by the way, if you're gifted, particularly if you're highly profoundly gifted, do not go to a counselor or psychologist who is not highly or profoundly gifted, because they will pathologize you. And that's another whole thing that I would love to talk about, because the DSM 5, 6, it's all based on the norms. And by definition, giftedness is 2 standard deviations, 3 standard deviations, 4 standard deviations, and 5. Those groups are not equal, by the way. That's another presentation. They are not the same as each other, and they certainly are deviant from the norm. So therefore, just saying, if you go to a counselor, make sure that person is a gifted person themselves, so they understand. The next concentric circle is our history. It's the imprint of our life. It's what happens in the home. Fundamentally, the most important thing is mom and dad getting along. Is there a lot of arguing? Do the kids get along? Do people put each other down? What's the environment like? Is it a safe haven? Do we hide? Do we share? What's it like? Is there alcoholism? Is there drug abuse? Is there anything that is very disruptive to any of our psyches that creates lack of stability? Now, I want to say something about our imprint. Every single one of us has stresses, I call it the good, the bad, and the uglies. Some of us have gone through horrific situations, horrific, and we're survivors of those situations. And I want you to know that if that's one of you, that you are more. Please hear me. You are more than your imprint. I promise you, you are more than what happened to you. I promise you. Okay. And that is true even if there are some ill-kept things at home right now. Hopefully I'll wake you up to some of them, and you can do some things about them. You can make some changes that you need to make. But you are more than your imprint. But there's also good golden times. There's wonderful times. There's sharing times. There's joyful times. There's laughter. There's experiences together. And so it isn't just all bad or all good. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly, so to speak. Now, inside that, so these are the externals. And I'm asking you, parents, for yourself, for your partner, and for your children, to don't just focus on those things. And what I realized in that counseling sessions, that's all we focused on. We never got past the family, of course, because there was some trauma in her family. And I remember saying to her, what about your golden core? And she said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, you inside, not your job, not your friends or lack thereof, not your relationships, not your work, not your stresses of everyday life, not your family, you, just you. Who are you? What is the beauty, the uniqueness, the golden core of who you are? And that's what this is. It's the golden core. And I believe that every single one of us has a golden core, and that is our uniqueness. And I have cried when I've said this because I've said it hundreds of times at this point. I take it very seriously. My greatest job as a parent, my fundamental job as a parent, is to see the golden core of my children and now my grandbabies, and to help them to learn the beauty, the goodness, the merits, not just the talents, the uniquenesses. For example, my daughter could talk to animals, and all animals would come up to her. Squirrels would come up to her. I mean, she had an energy of love of animals, not so much with people, very much an introvert, very much went to her apartment, which was her bedroom, from when she was little on, had to be alone to recalibrate, right? But talk about animals. Or my son who played piano, and when he would play piano, he would get lost, his head would go back. Those are unique, beautiful, intimate things of who your children are. And I want you to start reflecting on them. And here's another clue. When you want, this is such a psychologist thing. I'm sorry, I'm going over here. I can't help it. When you want your children to make some changes, please don't always talk about the things they do wrong. Catch every single thing they do right, every single thing. And please, not just about school and homework and productivity or talents, what they do at home. When your child, as rare as it is, unloads the dishwasher without you help, without you asking for help, you say, thank you so much. That was so nice of you. I love your kind heart when you do that for me. Acknowledge their goodness, their beauty. Thank you for taking the dog for a walk. Thank you so much for whatever it is. In other words, I see you. I hear you. I know you. I feel you. I want to say to you, parents, this is to me too. My kids taught me this actually, because I'm a talker. My kids told me, you can't, they didn't say it this way. You can't talk and listen at the same time. You want to know your children? Don't give lectures. Don't even give mini lectures, because they'll turn you off, particularly as a preteen and as a teen. They'll turn you right off. Their eyes might be looking at you, but they're gone. Okay. If you want to know your children, use your eyes, use your ears, use your heart more than anything. Use your body. What's your intuition say? This doesn't feel right. He's not acting right. She seems more distant. She's slamming the door. She's more argumentative. She's more angry. She's not eating very well. He's staying up so late, etc. And your own spirit, your own core. Listen to yourself. You'll know when you stop attuning just to the outside world and you attune to the inside world. You'll know when things are awry. Now, I want to make another comment. Relationships are built when you have two people with these same things, right? The external, okay? And so intimate relationships are when you start to overlap. You start to let each other see your stresses. You share what your past is. And so I want to say to you, if you are in partnership, please also, because your children notice this, don't get lost in whether or not your partner paid the mortgage on time, or washed the car, or the clothes are on the floor. Also, please attune to the golden core. If the family as a whole, we do see the external things and we get on each other's nerves all the time because we're intense. It's part of who we are. And part of innate, if you get my book, Embracing the Whole, WHOLE, embracing the 5 innate characteristics of being gifted, which I'm not going to talk about right now because you can read it. And it's a very, 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 very quick, thin book that my publisher cut a whole bunch out of to make it thin and quick for you. Innate characteristics of being gifted. Okay. When you respond to those, your whole family is likely gifted. Some might be twice exceptional, which means they have difficulty demonstrating their giftedness. And then they have low self-esteem and lack the esteem, particularly compared to siblings or whoever, or the people in the classroom sitting next to them that don't have difficulties, right? So again, all these are topics I can talk about, and I talk about with parents. Here we go now on to the next. So I said several important things. Think about yourself, know yourself, safety, security, stability in your family. Is it fertile soil for everyone? Don't get lost in the outside world. The most important thing is see me, hear me, know me, accept me, love me, respect me. Let me be genuinely who I am, like you and different from you. Here's number 3. I want you to know that the term giftedness is not just an intellectual term. Giftedness does not just affect your mind. You know this when you really look at it, and you know it with your children. Giftedness affects every aspect of who you are. It affects your mind. It affects your emotions. It even affects your body. It's been proven over and over and over, hundreds of studies of the sensitivity of our bodies. Again, I could say so much more about it. It affects your morals and ethics very much, and your spiritual self. And for some, you have a religious self, for others, you don't. But spirituality to me means connection with the universe, connection with nature. Connection comes from your spirit, right? And then the social self. Giftedness affects every single aspect of who you are. I am asked a lot, and I love this. It's one of my very favorite things, actually, when people bring me to the schools and they have me sit down with the teens and the preteens, and we sit in a circle. And inevitably, we're crying at the end, and kids are crying when we're really sharing. And I help them understand the missing links of who they are as gifted individuals, because we're so like others. We're people. We get our pants on the same way, et cetera, et cetera. We also are unique, and there are differences. And there are ways that we feel bad about ourselves because there are ways that we wonder what is wrong with me, because even from when we're little, higher the intelligence, the more this is true. We don't feel like we belong with the other kids a lot. We don't want to play the same games. They're not complicated enough. They're not interesting enough. And so you see the 4-year-old who's gifted and the teacher's worried about it because they'd rather play by themselves. Well, they want to play by themselves because they don't want to just swing on a swing only. They want to have imaginative play or whatever it is. So, we have a synchrony. And hopefully you understand all this. We have overexcitabilities and intensities. We have very much sensitivity, some physical, and for some people, emotional sensitivity. We have perfectionism. Okay. By nature, we're perfectionist because we see what ought to be, what could be. All right. And so please know there are unique attributes of who we are. And when I help the kids to understand that, they go, I always thought there was something wrong with me. I'm like, no, these are your gifts. But they are often distinctly different than some of the other kids. Even what you value, what you care about, what you want to talk about, what you're interested in, how even you want to dress possibly might be very different than your age peers. I have clients all over the country and even in different parts of the world. And one's coming to mind right now. He's a profoundly gifted kid, junior in high school. I saw him when he was in the 5th grade. Haven't seen him in years. Parents contacted me again. Very lonely, very isolated, profound giftedness. What I said to you, each level of giftedness is very distinct from each other. They are not all one. When you're profoundly gifted, and I work with a lot of profoundly gifted of all ages, feel very alone because you are a lot. And so I want to say this very quickly. He couldn't find anybody in his high school like him, blah, 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 blah. This might sound, similar. Um, and then we start talking about some of his teachers. And he has two teachers that are amazing. And they see him and he sees them. I said, oh, don't be worried about your friend, your connection, being connected with somebody. It's not age related. One of my best friends is 20 years older than me, and he was my professor at the university in grad school. Okay. One of my best friends of life. The higher the intelligence, the more asynchrony you have, right? Age does not define peers, obviously, but we get so worried. Teachers get worried. We get worried for our kids, and our kids get worried because they're alone. They don't want, they, they feel isolated. They feel misunderstood. They feel not okay about who they are. Um, there's so much I want to share. So I'm going to look at my notes because I could go on and on like this. Okay. Um, I want to make the comment that the higher the intelligence, now I'm going to start to get into anxiety a little bit and stress. In my experience, these are clinical experiences. I was a professor for a period of time, but I'm not talking to you from the white ivory tower, and I'm not talking to you for all the research. I'm talking to you from who has told me thousands of people have sat with me intimately and told me what's going on in their life. Okay. And so I'm coming from the inside out right now. I see the higher the intelligence, the more anxiety. Why is that? Because the higher the intelligence, the more you see the missing links, the more you see what if this, then that, then this, then that. It's the domino effect, okay, of worry. I eventually call it catastrophic thinking. Um, and so and it can lead to despair. It can lead to alienation. Okay, what do I want to say here? Okay, so what do I say about that? Oh, I want to say this one thing first off. When you, oh, there's so much. Okay, excuse me. I'm not going to say this right now. I'm going to go back to my notes and then I'm going to say it because I want to be a little bit linear for some of you. Okay, what are some of the things? What are some of the tools? One of the greatest vulnerabilities we have as a gifted person, even more as a highly gifted, even more as a profoundly gifted, is we think this is the most important part of us. And so it is the rest of the world. Okay. So we make this way too much godlike, and we are not living out of our emotions, out of our body enough, out of our ethics, morals, and values, what's truly important to us, what makes our hearts and what brings us joy, what is truly essential in our life. We're not living from that enough. We're living from this. Okay. And that is the greatest vulnerability. Oh, I could tell you 100 clinical examples, but I'm going to tell you the end of one. When a man came in to see me on the cover of a very prestigious magazine, and he said, I said, oh, Dr. Da da da, congratulations, you just pinnacle in the world. And he said, yes. I said, how do you feel? He said, empty. So what do you mean? He said, yeah, I just achieved, and I love my work, everything I've ever wanted, and da 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 da. But I feel very empty inside. And what we had to do for 2 years was help him realize he's more than his mind. And his worth is more than his mind. And what he values is more than his mind. But he's lost track of it. He's lost track of his heart. He's lost track of relationships in his family, with his child, with his wife. It is vital if you are going to have a healthy life, if you are going to feel like you have integrity and some autonomy and contentment, irrespective of age, you must attend all 5 domains. You must be all of who you are, not just your mind. Your worth is not just what you can produce. Your worth is your golden core, and your worth is your heart too. And your worth is how you are of service to others, what you are called to do, what you are called to give, the depth of you, the quiet places in you. So, okay, the greatest vulnerability is losing sight of that and not living it. In relationships, the greatest vulnerability is the higher of intelligence, the more you think you know it all, and the more you think you're right. So, how many of you in your partnerships argue with your spouse or your partner, or even your children, about who's right? You're always arguing about, no, this is it, because we think we know. And here's the other reason, because we do have a lot of information coming to us from our mind, our heart, our body, our spirit, our social self, our values, our morals. We think we trust it. That's a good thing. Don't try to change your kids from trusting their inner world. What they need to learn and what you need to learn is that we get to be different from each other. And by the way, we don't stay the same. We grow and change as our life experience happens and we learn more. But isn't it true at 13, they know everything? I mean, boy, they know everything, don't they? So, number one tool, become self aware. Are you living out of all five domains? Are your thoughts giving you energy? So, I'm going to focus on thoughts because this is why anxiety is mostly our imagination. Now, if you've had trauma experiences in your life, physical traumas, accidents, abuse, things that have occurred in your family that have been very traumatic to you, you have memories of those things, and those things can be triggered, right? So I'm not talking about that anxiety. I'm not talking about a specific situational anxiety that can be triggered in current everyday life. I'm talking about anxiety about, am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I thin enough? Is my house pretty enough? Do I know enough? Did I get a good grade? What about college? Da, 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 da. Do I, everything. I'm about those things. Do you, in your mind, do what you're thinking about give you energy, make you feel good? Let me tell you right now how to know if you have more weed thoughts, which is what I call it, or seed thoughts of positive blossoms. You find out from the bells tolling, the wake up calls. And what are the wake up calls? The most important wake up call you have is not your mind. Because your mind can do a jig, we can rationalize, we can deny, we can project, we can do so much stuff. We can make up stuff, all of us do. All of us do. Okay. The one part of you that never tells a lie, that never fibs, that never blames is your body. Your body is the one part of you that goes, ding, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I have a headache. That's number one bell tolling for me. Ding. What do? I take Advil. I promise I do. Ding. You're not okay. Now your neck hurts. Your shoulders are hurting. What are you carrying around, Patty? You're not supposed to carry. Ding. If I don't listen to that, I get insomnia. Your bell tolls when you're not okay. Your child's bell tolls. Learn your bells. Learn the warnings of when it's trying to say to you, no, wait a minute, listen to me, I'm not okay. And then you have to say, what have I just been thinking? Our thoughts and our emotion and our body are completely intertwined, split second. If your body says, I'm not okay, I guarantee you, you have been thinking about something that makes you feel like this. I guarantee you. You want to know what's going on with you? Listen to your body. Listen to your body and help your child to listen to their body. And then you say, what was I just thinking? What am I holding on to I better look at the time because I can go on for hours. Oh my God, I haven't hardly gotten through anything. Oh my God. I hope I've said things that were meaningful for you. Listen, listen to your body. Are you feeling depleted or are you feeling energized and open? Okay. When you have weed thoughts, what do you do about them? When you're enamored with self-judgment, worry, anger, blaming, withdrawal, difficulty sleeping, difficulty eating, fatigue, restlessness, fighting with siblings and parents, self-sabotage, self-doubt, all different signs, all different signs. What do you do? What do you do? You also check in with your emotion. So you have a physical, you have an emotional, and you have to say to yourself, what was I just thinking? So that you can identify the weeds, so that you, just like a garden, your mind is a garden, you pluck the weeds and you replace it with a seed thought. What's a seed thought? A seed thought is an affirmation. We all have lacks. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. Every single one of us. Okay. If we only focus on our weaknesses, if we only say we're not enough, we're going to have so many self-doubts. And we can go like this, right? We can go like that. And to the point of perpetual procrastination or paralysis of being able to do anything, really. And then that's depression and it's self-loathing. It's when we get to be self-loathing. Are we making positive choices that energize ourselves? Are we thinking positive thoughts? So I got to look at my notes here because it's getting so late. What is an affirmation? An affirmation is saying to yourself, you acknowledge the things that you want to work on, maybe some things of the past that you made mistakes. You acknowledge it and you say to yourself, I don't want to make those same mistakes. You acknowledge what's happened and you learn from it. And once you learn from it and you acknowledge what you need to change, I need to change some things. You might need help in determining what that is. I need to make some change because I've been feeling so bad. I've been feeling so down. I keep on holding on to this. I keep on repeating this. I keep on thinking about this. When you know that, then you get to say, oh, wait a minute. The past is the past until we make it be in the present. When we say it over and 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 over again, it's the present. And now we're dealing with it like it's in the present. Okay. We must learn from what's happened, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We must learn what we want to change. We must then look at our strengths. We must be, and this is where you've got to come in, parents, because when somebody is feeling really cruddy about themselves, they don't think they have any strengths. And you need to make comments about not just their intellectual strengths, but their personhood, their beauty, again, their uniqueness, right? They don't think they have it. And particularly when it's social. Oh my God. The social media and what it does to our kids is devastating. And what it does to you if you're on it. And that is constantly comparing with other people. Are you okay? So I say to you, I want you to follow in your inner being. I want you to listen and help your children listen to what makes their hearts sing, what brings them the greatest joy. Now, you've heard about gratitude, and I call it TAG, T-A-G. What am I thankful for? What can I appreciate today? What am I grateful for? So when you're really bummed out and the glass is always empty, you want to do something about that when you're feeling like this. The way to get like this, open again and feeling hopeful, is to say, play tag. What am I thankful for right now? It might be my bedroom and being by myself. It might be my puppy. It might be my cat sitting with me. That's okay. It might be my teacher. It might be my poetry. It might be my favorite book. It might be music. It might be dancing. It could be all kinds of things. Okay, I'm aware of time here. So if you want me to be quiet, you need to tell me that. What makes your heart sing? What brings you the greatest joy? I'm going to read one more thing and then I'm going to be quiet. What do you really care about? What do you believe is the most essential? That's your guiding force in your life, and your children's life. What can you control? What can't you control? Learn to plant seeds into fertile soils, knowing that growth takes time. Change doesn't happen immediately. Growth takes time. So you have to say some positive things to yourself. You have to help your children do it, and you need to do it. And there's so much more. I didn't get through it all, but I'm glad to be with you. And I hope what I shared was helpful. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. You had so many great things. I can't believe
Good.
all that we learned in that short period of time. I have one question.
Okay.
I think we have time for one question. What is the one thing that parents can do right now to create an opportunity for their child to be seen?
The most important thing is for the parent to see them. So not to be, it's wonderful to be seen out there, but to be seen, what's the most important thing? I'm going to get emotional. Come from your heart. Come from your heart. I want you to be quiet. Parents, be quiet. Be quiet in the car. Let them have the music on when you're trying to talk to them. Let them talk. Don't ask many questions. My kids said, Mom, you asked too many questions. I go, okay, okay. They told me I could only have 3 questions. So then I figured out which questions I could ask. So only ask a few things. Don't push. Eyes, ears, heart, body, spirit. What is their beauty? What is their uniqueness? What is their passion? What do they care about the most? What makes their heart sing? What brings them the greatest joy? That's how you see them. That's how you see them.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And I hope my contact information is there. I hope to see you all again. Bye.
For sure. Bye. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you. You the same. Bye bye.